What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a brand new video. Now, believe it or not, tomorrow, which is July 27th, marks a year since I've taken delivery of this car, and that's actually insane. So we're going to be running through some of the memories that I've had in my year with the Swift and doing a bit of a review in the process, basically a 1 year ownership review. Now, I really do hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so here it is now. Now, today's video is going to be a blend between a review and sharing my experiences with the car. Now, a couple of things to note. The car is really dirty, like absolutely filthy. It's been raining for like the past 2 days non-stop, and I couldn't get a chance to wash it. I mean, it would be bad to wash it in the rain whilst it would still get dirty. So please forgive me on that because it is absolutely filthy. Now, the latest generation Suzuki Swift. Now, my car is a GLX. It's in the lucent metallic orange and it's a 2022 car. Like I've already mentioned in the intro, I took delivery on July 27th, 2022. Now, up front here, you have a hexagonal shaped grille with the Suzuki badge just sitting nicely and prominently. You also have this chrome strip and a kind of honeycomb effect going on with the grille right there. You do have some openings all over here and down here for the radiator, and one experience I'll share is that the radiator inside here can get absolutely clogged up with insects and dust, and when it gets clogged up it can affect the performance on the air conditioner, so that's something to note. Now, it is winter time now and I haven't used the aircon in a while, so I haven't had that experience yet. So it does help to clean out the filters over time, which they do that during the service and so on. So if we come around to the side, on the GLX you get these beautiful two-tone wheels, which I think they look absolutely incredible. Now, these are 15 inches and they're hugged by 185 millimeter tires all round, that is. Now, the side profile doesn't really have much going on. It's not all too different from the base GA and GL, except on the GL and GLX you get body painted mirrors and integrated turning signal lights. This being the GLX, you have your button on the doors for the keyless access. Now, you might think this is a bit pointless because keyless access, but you still have to push a button. But let me tell you, it is absolutely handy because you don't have to faff around for the keys when you're approaching the car. You just push the button, it unlocks, and just like that, you're in. Now, looking at the car from its side, you notice that it has a floating roof kind of design. Now, the top of the car is obviously in the body paint color, which is lucent metallic, but you'll notice some sections on the side, like this piece right here, which is in black, the B pillar in black, and the A pillar in black. That helps break up the paint between the roof and the rest of the body, and it kind of creates an effect where the roof looks like it's floating. Now, top part integrated door handle. Another experience I will share is that people do often get confused by this door handle situation. I've had people who actually look around like, what's going on, where's the door handle? So that can happen. Coming around to the rear, this is where you actually notice how dirty the car is, but please guys, forgive me for that. The situation is just out of my hand. Now, you get LED tail lights on the Swift, only for the tail lights, that is, and they are my favorite exterior feature on the car. They look absolutely glorious in the dark when they're illuminated in this kind of C shape, and it literally says Suzuki here on the left. You get a Suzuki badge in the middle. It says Swift on the right hand side. Now, the rear bumper kind of looks like it's bubbly, like it's bloated in a way, but in a good way. It's a very neat, clean looking car. You get parking sensors on the rear only. Are they handy? Yeah, definitely. Why only on the rear? I don't know, but yeah, they're still quite handy. You also have a reverse camera hidden down here, which is surprisingly clean. Now reverse camera only comes on the GLX. Is there something I'm forgetting from the exterior? Oh, something I want to share. Now if you check at the front here, the front overhang is quite long. Now the overhang is the distance from the arch area to the furthest point on the front bumper, basically this distance. So the overhang can be quite long, so when driving into awkward spaces, it's easy for the front part of the bumper to catch onto the ground or curbs and so on. And I have, well, let me show you. There's one time where I've caught, as you can see, there's a very nasty scratch right there, and yeah, till this day it still bothers me. So like I said, I'm sharing my experiences with the car. Other than that, I think on the exterior that's pretty much the only scratch, well, except it will be hard to see this, but there's a dent right here from a stone chip. This is literally a dent, it's not dirt. So yeah, the car has been obliterated with a lot of stone chips. I mean, such is life, and that one has resulted in a dent. I also have a windshield crack right there, and it's been hit countless times on the windshield in terms of stone chips. But yeah, such is life. And yeah, other than that, let's actually check out the interior. So the interior on the Swift. Now, something to note before we get into the technicalities. Now, my car literally still has all the plastic covers it came with. Now, I can't help it, but I'm that guy. On the sun visors, the plastic covers are still there. There's a plastic cover for the seat adjustment lever down here. There is, which other one? Oh, there's a plastic cover on the steering wheel adjustment lever. There's also some sticky covers on the window buttons on the rear, and there used to be one cover on the dorsal, but there's one time I took it to the car wash and they removed that, and I was really pissed because it's my thing. I'm that person. I'll literally never remove them until they literally fall off. Now the technicalities. Now once again, this being the GLX, to start with, you have an engine start stop button, which comes as standard, all part of that keyless access. There's also two buttons right here on the right. One is for turning on and off the parking sensors. The other one is the traction control button. Why you'd want to turn off the traction control in this car, I don't know, but if you wanted to, you can suit yourself. Now I think I should actually put on the car so we can run some of the features. It actually fires up really quickly. I also want to connect my phone to demonstrate a few things. Okay, so let's get into the steering wheel. Now on the GLX, the steering wheel comes leather covered, so that is a nice premium touch. You also have some multi-function buttons, like you don't need music right now, your media controls, a volume button, buttons for skipping through tracks, and a mute button so you can quickly mute your music. There's also a phone answering and a hang up button and a voice control button, which is quite cool for the steering wheel. Now models upper through the range in the Suzuki lineup come with cruise control. You can't get that on the Swift, so the right side of the steering wheel is blank, which does look asymmetrical and a bit weird, but not a big deal. I do quite like the analog dials. They're very clean, they're very clear, and they just happen to be colored orange, which does tie in nicely with my exterior color, which is lucent metallic orange. Okay, I think I'm saying that for the third time, but yeah, I do like that. There's also a very small digital screen in the center between the speedo and the rev counter, where you can check the time, you can see the temperature outside, the mileage of the vehicle, your fuel level, and you can scroll through some trip gauges, and you can see how much trip you've done daily or whatever. You can check your fuel range, and you can check your average fuel consumption, which mine currently sits at 19.9 kilometers per liter, which is around 5 liters per 100 kilometers, somewhere there, almost, something like that. Don't quote me though. So yeah, other than that, okay, the seats, I'll touch upon the seats. Now the seats are very comfortable and they mold around my body really well. And another thing I'll point out is that the pattern in the center of the seats is unique to the GLX. Now if you hop into the GL, that has its own unique pattern, but you'll only realize that when you have them side by side and you can look like literally side by side. But trust me, this pattern right here is unique to the GLX. Now there's also some kind of silverish gray trim which you get here on the top of the dashboard and on the door. Now that's unique to the GLX. The GL and GA get a kind of carbon fibery effect, which is, yeah, interesting. Now you do have a couple of cup holders, 3 in total. 2 are down here and 1 is back here on the center console. They're square shaped, but they do work really well. There's been many times where I've had drinks in the car, and yeah, they do hold some different cups really well. There's also a bottle holder on the door, which is absolutely huge. There's also a door pocket, which, yeah, is quite useful. I always have stuff like my wallet in there, but I avoid having stuff like keys because this interior is all plastic, and when you have stuff in the door pockets, they can absolutely rattle. Like a drink that is like a can, it rattles in here. Bottles rattle, keys, it all rattles. So I always put stuff that doesn't rattle, like a wallet. So let's jump into the infotainment screen. Now I never use the built-in system because I always have my phone plugged in, so I always use Apple CarPlay, and it just works brilliantly on this car. And for some reason in Apple CarPlay mode, I don't know, I'm pretty sure that has to do with the Apple CarPlay system. It's very responsive because the built-in system for this car is laggy, and yeah, it looks quite off. I never use it, I never bother using it, but it's quite handy that, you know, they give you Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. When you're using those, it's just brilliant. It works absolutely beautifully. So climate controls. Now the GLX gets its own unique climate controls which look really neat, and they look absolutely beautiful, and they're also handy to use. You have your fan speed controller here on the left, so you just scroll it like that and you can increase or lower your fan speed. You also have a defrost button built into the fan speed wheel, so you can defrost the front windshield and you can defrost the rear windshield. There's also a mode button that helps you cycle through the air vent direction, like does the air blow into your face, your legs, and so forth. And there's an AC button and there's an air recycle button. On the right side you have a wheel for controlling the temperature, so you can lower or increase the temperature, and inbuilt into that is the auto climate control button, so you can click auto and the car will automatically set up the climate according to the outside temperature and whatnot. So mine is in manual. As you can see, the manual gear lever, which is also wrapped in leather, which is quite nice. You have a handbrake right there, and other than that, is there something I'm forgetting? Ooh, the floor mats actually say Swift, which is, yeah, quite neat, quite handy. I do like that. Ooh, sound system. Something that many people might not realize is that the GLX actually comes with an extra speaker compared to the base GA and GL. So there's an extra speaker right here on the A pillar, which is quite handy. It helps in enhancing the sound system. Speaking of sound system, let's actually test out how it sounds. Okay, sound quality playing via YouTube isn't quite as high as, say, playing in the Apple Music, or yeah, you get the point. It's slightly lower, but if you're using headphones, you can take a listen at how the sound system sounds like. But anyways, you get the point. Let's actually check out the room out in the back. So, the back seat. Now, something that strikes me about this car is how much room you have inside. I mean, leg room is a bit tight. I'm about 1.6 to 1.8 meters tall, and obviously someone say taller than that, they'll struggle with leg room. But there's plenty of space to like stretch and to get comfortable, but you do feel like you're a bit crouching, like the backrest is a little bit too upright. But since I'm not too tall, I can lean forward a bit and get very comfortable. What's very impressive is the headroom, because there's absolutely an abundant amount of headroom, which is really insane. Now, there aren't many luxuries back here, except the fact that the seats are just very comfortable. Like the cloth is very soft, and yeah, it's really nice. Something I forgot to mention while we were still in the front is talking about the rattles. Now, in my first review, I've told you guys that this car has a couple of rattles inside the interior. Some have gone, some are still present, and yeah, has there been some new ones? Yeah, I think there's also been some new ones. Now, I used to have a rattle right here on the rear seat belt hanger buckle, and I'm happy to say this one has gone away. There's one on the glove box lid or opener that has slightly muted a bit, but I think it's still there. There's a new one coming from one of the air vents somewhere there, but yeah, a couple of interior rattles. But every time when I drive, I always have music on, and you don't get to notice them. They can be quite annoying, but not much of a deal breaker, because I've also had some rattles in a couple of Mercedes-Benz cars. So I guess that's that. Let's check out the boot space. So the boot, this is 264 liters in capacity, and nothing interesting to see back here. There is a huge loading lip, like absolutely huge, so you need to be on your A game when it comes to lifting in and out heavy loads. So yeah, that's something to note. I have a couple of stuff here, just some memories. Like I took the car with me to the SA Festival of Motoring last year. I went to the Porsche 911 GT3 RS launch. Oh, that's so bright. But yeah, I do have a couple of stuff here, an old and broken suction mount, although still useful, just need to replace this. Anyways, we're getting out of topic. Now you have this triangle, emergency triangle, which just stays right there. There's also an underfloor with a spare wheel, so if you get a puncture, you can put on your spare wheel. Oh, something just fell through here. Ooh, now I've ruined my floor. Okay, it's back to looking neat. Now you can fold the seats just to load in longer items, and I'll insert a clip of what that looks like. What I also like is that there's a little catch for the seat belt to help secure the seat belt when you are folding the seats. Let's actually go for a drive and talk about a couple more things, like the driving experience, the performance, ownership costs, and yeah, a bit more of that. Let's jump into the driver's seat. Okay, so guys, you join me inside the Swift. So let's start with some technicalities. Now, the engine. So this has a 1.2 liter 4-cylinder naturally aspirated engine. It pushes 61 kilowatts, which is around 80 horsepower, and 113 newton meters of torque. Now, Suzuki claims the car has a top speed of 170 kilometers an hour. I've done about 160. Please don't ask me where, but what I can tell you is that it was on private property. So yeah. So fuel consumption, they claim 4.9 liters, which is absolutely true, because on average I get 5 liters per 100 kilometers. So that is pretty believable. So some driving experience highlights. So for me, my favorite thing about driving this car is the suspension and how the car just feels to drive. The suspension on this car, I've often said, feels really good. It feels like they've done some kind of magic that till this day I cannot understand. But long story short, this car is very comfortable, and it's even more comfortable than some premium cars. I won't name which premium cars, but it is really that good. Another highlight to note is when driving on the highway, particularly on the highway. I've only noticed this on the highway. Obviously on the highway you're driving with other cars around you, driving on the same lane, and yeah, so the car tends to be blown around by turbulence coming from cars driving past you and so on. Now this is a very light car at 875 kilograms. Now I believe that is why that happens. So yeah, that is something to note. But I'll tell you, it's very stable at high speed. Like when you're driving really quickly, it doesn't wander around or it doesn't shake around. It feels really stable. Now the GLX comes with 185mm section tires, whereas on the GA and GL you get 165mm tires, so narrower tires. So on the GLX, I guess the car is more stable with its wider tires, so that is something to note as well. Other than that, I mean, it feels like any other car really. Sound insulation is quite good. Tire noise is quite minimal. The rims are quite small, so I guess that's the benefit of that. So yeah, it's a very comfortable car to drive. Visibility is absolutely great. It's very relaxing, and yeah, that out of the way. Next, let's touch on warranty, service plan, and then jump into ownership costs. Now the Swift comes with a 30,000 kilometer / 2-year service plan, with a service interval of 15,000 kilometers. Now it needs to go in for service every 15,000 kilometers. Now my car went in for service on the 29th of April, so that was its first service, obviously, and that service was about 1,400 rands. Now obviously, because the car is new, still under plan, that is all covered. So they exchanged or rather replace air filters, obviously the oil, and do a bit of inspection on the car. So nothing too crazy, just a quick simple service. Now the car comes with a 200,000 kilometer / 5-year warranty, so yeah, that is really great. Now ownership costs. Now this car is financed under NetBank, and my interest rate sits at about 14%. What's the prime rate right now? I think it's about 11%. So yeah, I got an interest rate of about 14%, and yeah, I pay a lot of money for this car. It's quite expensive. So at that rate, this car costs 5,300 rands per month before insurance. So that's the financing stuff. So it's financed for 60 months. Yeah, 60 months. And yeah, insurance is also quite a lot. I pay a lot for insurance. So I'm actually thinking of changing to a different insurance broker. So currently I'm paying, wait for it, I'm paying 1,700 rands for insurance. Yeah, I know that's insane. I know you guys will go at me in the comments, but yeah, that's what I'm paying at the moment. So in total per month to finance the vehicle, including insurance, I pay 7,200 rands, 7,300 rands, somewhere there about. So yeah, that's my ownership costs. Now fuel, to fill up the car, it costs me around 630 rands, roughly thereabout. Now it's hard for me to estimate how much I spend on fuel monthly, because yeah, I would need to track how much driving I do, but I don't actually drive the car a lot. Like this car can spend an entire week, like literally an entire week, without being driven, from Saturday to Saturday, literally. So I can go from one Saturday driving around in the car, park it, never drive it again until next the next Saturday, because normally I only drive around going for shoots and so on. I mainly work at home and yeah, all that junk. So long story short, I don't really drive a lot. What I like using the car for, it's going on long distance trips, like driving to Joburg and so forth. That's my main use for this car, really. So yeah, that's ownership costs. That's my experience with the Swift for a year so far. Do comment down below what you think, or any other stuff that you'd like to know about the Swift in particular, or my experience with it, and anything else that you think I've left out and so forth. Now, I really do hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until next time, that's cheers from me.